Legislative lawsuit still unresolved. Now there is a date on the calendar for when hundreds of staffers would stop getting their paychecks. State Supreme Court still hasn't really decided the budget battle between Governor Mark Dayton and the Republican-controlled legislature. The governor vetoed the House and Senate's operating funds, trying to force lawmakers to come back to the bargaining table to renegotiate bills he signed, but he says he doesn't like. No negotiating has been happening, and the operating funds are drying up fast. Best case scenario, according to the Senate, 205 staffers are going to be furloughed on January 12th.
That's the date. And so furlough notices would go out. It would be January 12th. That's when everything ceases. Our phones get forwarded. We lock the Senate doors. Things close down.
Governor Mark Dayton says the legislature can take money from a number of other state funds it controls, so it can continue operating until the legislature is scheduled to meet again on February 20th. Check in with WCCO Chief Political Reporter Pat Kessler. Pat, let's start with the very serious allegations of sexual harassment against DFL Senator Dan Schoen, also a police officer. What are you hearing on this this morning?
Well, this is still a developing story here at the Minnesota State Capitol. This is the kind of story that we're seeing and hearing at capitals all around the country, the Me Too movement, where women are standing up and saying they've been discriminated against or harassed, and that appears to be happening here at the state capitol, too. As we mentioned, Senator Dan Schoen, a Democrat, has categorically denied these, making any kind of inappropriate actions toward female lawmakers or others. But there is something still going on here because the leaders of the party, including his leader in the Minnesota Senate, they met. They might have more information than we do, but all of them unanimously are calling on Senator Schoen to resign.
Although they knew about some of this, didn't they, Pat? Like some of the women said they came forward and reported it.
Right. And this is one of the issues here with sexual harassment. Women who report it feel victimized because they think their careers are going to be limited at the Capitol, their bills will not pass, and it's a human resources matter. So the minute it goes to human resources, then it becomes non-public. So we don't know what happened after they reported these incidents. One more thing about this. If you're a state lawmaker, you have something different. You are going to respond differently than if you're a staffer. Human resources can force an employee to resign or fire them. But if you're an elected official, you have an election certificate. You don't have repercussions unless you take them upon yourself.
Sure.
Hey, Pat, we found out last night that Jacob Fry is going to be taking over for Betsy Hodges as the mayor of Minneapolis. No stranger to the city after being on the city council. What are some of the big issues he's going to try to take on?
Well, this is the same in Minneapolis and St. Paul. You're going to have to deal with police violence, property taxes, the business climate in Minneapolis, a very big issue, and one of the things that helped Jacob Fry get elected. As we mentioned earlier, he's a 36-year-old young man, 38-year-old, the new mayor of St. Paul. But this was ranked choice voting. It's interesting that it appears the majority of votes that Jacob Fry got to become elected mayor were second-place votes. So this is still developing also where you look at this ranked choice voting. But you've got a new generation of leaders in both Minneapolis and St. Paul. Really interesting. It's going to be fun, interesting to watch over the next 4 years in both cities.
Let's quickly go to the funding of the legislature. January 12th, not that far off. I don't know that a huge number of Minnesotans are really that concerned about 200 staffers being put on a temporary furlough. But these are real people with jobs. Is the standoff have any hope of ending?
Well, at this point, it doesn't look like it is, and this is interesting because these are real people. These are people who have mortgages and jobs and health concerns and pregnancies. There's 200 in the House and a couple of hundred, or 200 in the Senate and a couple of hundred in the House also. So we've got more than 400 people around the holidays are worried that they're not going to have a job. They're going to be laid off. Now, the state lawmakers, it's because the state lawmakers can't agree on the budget. And that's something that is privately, I'm hearing from many, many staffers saying, why us? Why are we the victims? Watch for that one to develop over the next couple of weeks.
Interesting. Pat, thank you. We'll see you on the news at 5 and 6 today.